Hi everyone, I'm Madeline James, and today we're going to talk about NaNoWriMo planning. With the National November Writing Month starting soon, I thought this would be the perfect time to talk about how I set my writing goals and plan my writing sessions so that I can make sure that I hit my goals. If you aren't familiar with NaNoWriMo, it's essentially a writing challenge during the month of November where a bunch of writers from all over the world try to write a book, or 50,000 words, or whatever other writing goal they want to set for themselves. So the whole point of NaNoWriMo is to push yourself to accomplish more than you would otherwise, to really focus on fast drafting and getting through that first draft without stopping to overthink yourself, research a ton of stuff, and edit, which is a really good skill to have for most writers. So NaNoWriMo takes intentionality to succeed. You have to push yourself, set reasonable goals, and make sure that you're dedicated in finishing them. And it's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be just what you do every other month out of the year. So I find it really important to be realistic with how you're setting your goals and how you're expecting yourself to complete them. If you're like, I'm gonna write 80,000 words in 1 month and you normally barely manage a few thousand, there is no way you're gonna be able to handle that. And you're just setting yourself up for failure, which isn't gonna make you feel good or like you've accomplished anything. So I always find it important to set reasonable goals, plan your writing sessions reasonably, and kind of have a take it one day at a time approach. And I do want to preface here that I am not an expert about any of this, and I don't think that setting word count goals are always the best way to measure your success as a writer. However, I do think that it can be helpful to track progress and track, how you're doing, not necessarily as something that you're announcing to other people. It doesn't matter what your goal is, it just matters that it's reasonable for you and is going to help you get what you want to get done. I see a lot of writers approach NaNoWriMo by taking that 50,000 word goal, dividing it by the number of days in November, or however many days they're trying to hit whatever goal that they're trying to accomplish. And then they divide it evenly so they have the same word count that they're trying to hit every single day. And that isn't reasonable for a lot of people. I mean, I have a full-time job, I have small children, I have other priorities and things that I have to do in my life. So being able to accomplish the same word count every day is not something that's actually going to happen for me. And I imagine a lot of people otherwise. So the way I plan is to figure out when I have time to write, how much time I have to write, and how much I can write at a time. And before we get started, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. So first you need a blank calendar for November, or whatever time period you're doing this for, and look at your actual calendar and go day by day deciding how much time you have to write comparatively. I like to mark these days no time, which is I don't mark them, a lot of time, some time, or a little time, and I like to color code this. I think it makes it easier and easier to see. And make sure to keep in mind your work schedule, events, holidays, and everything, and err on the side of less time rather than more. So I'm going to pull up my calendar and I'm just going to go through and do this real quick. For this next step, you need to know approximately how many words you can write in an hour. For me, that's about 800, but if you don't know what it is for you, that's fine. Just do some writing sprints and kind of figure it out. And don't worry about it being a certain rate or something. Like if you're a slower writer or you tend to be a little bit more methodical about the words you put down, that's fine. The important thing here is to be realistic, not to be high. So we want to figure out how much time we have to write, so we will assign points to each day. If we can't write at all, the day gets 0. If we have a little time, it's 1 point, some time gets 2, and a lot gets 3. So I'm just going to add this up real quickly. Easy. All right, so this is 53 points. Now, what we're gonna wanna do is take your word count goal and divide it by that total point count. And that is gonna be how many words you'd have to write each day per point. So if I'm trying to write 50,000 words, I'm gonna divide that by 53 points. Let's see, 50,000 words divided by 53 points is roughly 945 points or words per point. Whatever, you get the idea. Now we want to consider your writing speed and how much time it would take you per point and whether that is doable or not. And if not, rework your point distribution or your word count goal until it seems doable. So if I want to do 945 words per point and I write about 800 words an hour, that's, we'll call it an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes. So 1.25 hours per point. So all of these days that are red that I said I would have a little bit of time to write, if a little bit I can manage, you know, an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half, then that should be good. On orange days, I need to have, you know, 2 hours and 45 minutes. On red days, I need to have, you know, 4 hours to write. And if that's something that I think that is doable with my schedules, then I'm good. If not, you go back and you play with this math until it works into something that's reasonable for your schedule. So now that we have this, we can go through and write our word count goals. I'm gonna go and write this in brown, and I'm just gonna kind of write this for each day. So for no days, I need to write 0 words. If I said I don't have time. Okay, if I have a little bit of time, I have to write 945 words. So then on days where I said sometime, let me do the math because there's a reason I'm not a mathematician. Times 2 is going to be 1,890. Where's the backspace? 2,835. And then I have a calendar with how many words I need to write each day, accounting for my schedule, my writing speed, etc., that will allow me to accomplish my goal. And this is something I've done in the past. So these are a couple of the calendars I've used before. So this was June, and what I ended up doing was 35,000 words in that month. I didn't plan this beforehand. This is more just tracking. But I did this for Camp Nano, where, you know, some days I went above my goals, some days I went lower, and I kept track of the pink was what I wanted to write, my goal, and then the yellow was my actual word count for that day. These red days, I didn't technically work on this writing project, but I was working the right amount of time, so I didn't quite hit my goal of 40,000 words, but if I counted the words I wrote here, I wrote enough to hit my goal, so I kind of counted it as a win, but this is just something that's worked really well for me. Planning like this is really helpful for me, and I like to do it anytime I'm trying to, you know, work on a first draft, or if there's any other goals I'm trying to be a little bit more regimented in how I accomplish. And this is good for me to make sure I'm hitting my goals, and that I'm aware of how long it actually takes me to do something and how on topic I'm being. And I really like to have this sort of record of how much I write. So like, I know that I can write 30,000 words in a first draft fairly well. So if I'm expecting to write a 90,000 word manuscript, I need about 3 months minimum to get that done, and that helps me plan because I'm a planner and I like to schedule everything. So if I'm gonna leave you with a piece of advice, if you're about to tackle NaNoWriMo, one of the Camp NaNos, or just some other writing challenge that you're giving yourself, take it one day at a time. If you lose a day for some reason or the other, don't kill yourself trying to make up that word count, because if you're planning properly, you don't really have time to make up word count later on. Now, you might be able to make a little bit of progress on that, but in general, if you miss a day, that day's a loss. That's fine. But the next day, you can still win. Just go for that original goal and keep track of, like, you know, trying to win as many days in the month as you can versus trying to hit that overall goal. And at least for me, that really helps me to not be demotivated by my own failures, I guess, if you want to call them that. But if there's any days in there that something comes up, and things come up, especially when you have kids and family and friends and jobs and a life at all, things come up. And so it really helps not to just be too hard on yourself so that you can still keep going and feel like you're accomplishing something. I'm not planning on writing a novel or 50,000 words next month during Nano, but I am planning on really trying to buckle down and get through the first pass of developmental revisions on my novel. So I'll be kind of riding the hype train, as it were. But if you're about to tackle Nano yourself or whatever writing goals you're trying to do, let me know what your challenge is down in the comments below, and I'd love to chat about it. And good luck! If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.